My name's Will Conwell. I'm 37, been married 12 years. My wife Kate and I met in college at the University of Washington. So I'm 423, I've been in the program 5 years. I'm a leader in a small group. In middle school, I started getting attracted to girls and we would pass notes back and forth. This is before instant messaging or picture messaging or anything else. So I got into writing these sexual notes back and forth with a girl in 8th grade, and my mom found one in my pocket. And she cornered me in a room and said, "Why did you write this? These are horrible things. How could you have ever done this? I don't want to ever see you do anything like this again." And then that was the end of the conversation. And I thought to myself, what do I do now? All I know now as a human is to hide this going forward. Okay, so something I did was wrong and shameful, and now I know my mom doesn't want to see it, and neither probably does anybody else, so I will hide this. I met an amazing woman, now my wife Kate, in 2001. We were both on the track team at the University of Washington. We met and we started dating at the end of our freshman year, and I didn't tell her anything about what was wrong with me or my sins in that sense. I mean, we grew close, we had our own struggles along the way. So we got married in 2007. I was actually a virgin from intercourse, nothing else, but from intercourse until about 6 months before our wedding. And at that point, Kate was out of town at a track trip. I was feeling lonely and detached and had several drinks on a St. Patrick's Day when a friend of mine and I decided to have sex together. And so I lost my virginity while engaged to my now wife to another person who was a friend of both of ours. That's how deep my desire to be cared about and to feel connection was, that now saying it out loud, it sounds so insane that could be a decision that I would have made at the time. Yet at the time, it didn't feel like a decision. It felt like something that just happened and there was no way around it, is really what it felt like. But then we got married, but I didn't say a word about it. And so she didn't know. We were married, but the marriage wasn't going well because I wasn't being truly intimate. I wasn't completely honest with her. As her and I would fight, then I would go onto Facebook or text and I would flirt with other people just to feel like, okay, I'm not a bad person. Ended up finding one woman who probably has the same damage I have or similar, and she was also looking for a connection. So in 2010, I did track and field and competed professionally, and I'd travel around the country. And so I was on a trip in San Diego, and that's where she lived. And so one night I went out with friends and we had way too many drinks. And so I called her and we met together and had sex. The whole time I'm hiding it from my wife, who we have a kid together now, our first son. I'd coached at the University of Washington, I'd coached at Auburn University in Alabama, and we were living in Auburn. I was training professionally in track and field, and I had just finished in 2012. I didn't make the Olympic team, so we decided that would be the end of my throwing career. Now it's time to work. Well, the perfect job is to go into track and field, is to be a coach, a college throwing coach. So I put my resume all across the country. I got only one phone interview with the University of Hawaii, and they hired somebody else. I couldn't understand it at all. Well, then an apartment management company who I'd worked for in college contacted us in Renton, Washington, and said, "We have a brand new 53-unit apartment complex. Will you and your family come out and lease it up and manage it for us?" Now remember, this whole time I'm hiding all the rest of these lies, but I'm thinking I can leave all this in the past as soon as we physically move our locations. Sure enough, just like always, I start flirting and texting with somebody else. And so I'm texting with this girl and sexual text messages back and forth, and I'm managing the apartment complex, and I'm down in the parking lot cleaning up something, and my wife comes down with my phone. And she holds it up just like this to my face, and she says, "What is this? Who is this? Explain this to me right now." I can't feel anything. I go completely numb. Everything inside of me says, lie, 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 lie. And so I start my normal thing. I don't know who that is. I think it must be a wrong number. And she goes, "Well, I scrolled back up and you were responding to her." And I go, "Oh yeah, that was all just text." She got a hold of me and I was engaging in it, but I asked her to stop, and she goes, "It looks like she was asking you to stop. I read all the messages and you kept going and she was saying," and I'm like, "Oh man, I'm caught." And I go, "Okay, well, yeah, I was texting her inappropriate, but nothing ever happened." Like, how little can I say? So she said, "Well, I'm gonna call her." So she calls this other girl on the phone, right on the spot. This is my wife, she's amazing. She goes, "What's this all about? I found this on my husband's phone." And the girl, rightfully so, put it all on me, which she goes, "Look, I did respond and I shouldn't have, and it was inappropriate, but he's been very aggressively messaging me, and I've told him multiple times not to do it because he's married," and all those things were true. So then my wife said, "Well, I don't believe you now about anything. What else? And so I said, well, nothing else is going on. She said, okay, well, give me your phone then. And then she took my phone, and the next day she called every girl in my phone. 4 or 5 of them replied and said yes. More replied and said, well, he used to, but I haven't talked to him in a long time. Like, it became clear that I had a very deep problem. And my wife just like breaks down and is crying, and it's like, we're out of here, we're gone. We have a 1-year-old son. We both are hired by this apartment company. She calls the apartment company and says, I'm done, I quit, I'm leaving. Will do it on his own. You can talk to him about why. She gets a plane flight and she flies right back to Alabama with our son, because that's where we just came from. We got these amazing women out there who supported her and loved her and said, yeah, come on out, we'll take care of you. I'm all alone. I've just ruined my family. My secret's out, because my wife not only did that, but she also sent an email to all of my family members. I have a family member who had been through something very similar. I called him right away and I said, I don't know what to do. This is what's going on in my life. I'm way out of character. I'm not who I say I am, but I know that this isn't me. It's like I'm trapped. And he goes, where are you? I said, what do you mean? He goes, where are you living? Where do you physically? I said, I'm in Renton, Washington. He said, okay, there are a couple that worked with me and my wife 20 years ago. They said that this is going to happen in our family. And when they call me to tell them that they will clear their schedule and they will meet with this person one-on-one and teach them the Bible and get them to know Jesus again, and help them heal. And they live 20 minutes from Renton, Washington. And I was like, come on, I couldn't get a job anywhere in the country. I applied everywhere. And then this random apartment complex company I used to work for calls me, and I moved to Renton, Washington. And then my marriage falls apart, and I call the one person I know to call, and he says 20 years ago a couple told me and so he goes, here's their phone number. His name's Paul and Delwyn. So I call Paul and Delwyn and I say, here's the situation. And they go, yeah, we thought this would happen at some point. And I said, well, what about my wife? What about our marriage? And they said, no. You have to get healthy first. If you can get healthy, if you decide to get healthy, and if you meet Jesus in this experience, we will contact your wife. But until that point, you need to leave her alone unless she's asked you to communicate with her. I go, no, she's asked me not to. And they're like, then you need to leave her alone and you need to get healthy. You won't become healthy by trying harder, but you have to move. I couldn't sit there and say, well, no, I can't do that because I have a job. Well, no, I can't do that because it's a 20-minute drive and I don't want to go out there. I had to say yes. This is the moment in my life where every single lie and secret that I've been holding can come out. And I wanted it out. 6 weeks later, they said, okay, you're ready. If you want to invite your wife, we're going to call her. And so they did. And she said, I want to be there. I want to come back. And so she came back. And we started doing the counseling together. And then we moved to Portland to be near her family. And I contacted my sister-in-law, who went here to West Side. And she said, well, I think there's some program. They talked about it on Sunday morning. It's called like 423. Apparently they just started talking about it here at the church. So we got on the internet and found the 423 website, and I called Dave Scriven's cell phone, who answered, and he said, come on in on Saturday and we'll do an intake. He said it takes about 3 to 5 years. I said, okay, but inside I said, well, yeah, but not for me. I mean, 3 months maybe 6. As it turns out, it's actually like the way to retrain the brain takes 3 to 5 years. So now I think it's been 5 years. I'm still in the program. I love it. I go every week. I'm a leader there with 423. So my favorite part of 423 has been the deep level of relationship that I build with the other guys, which at first I would have said, well, a deep level of relationship, like that sounds kind of lame. Like I've already got friends. I have friends from high school still. I've got cousins. I've got a brother, but that's not the same depth. I mean, it's really awesome because I'm fully able to express myself in that room, and it's a room where there's no shame. I enjoy life more now. I find myself able to interact with friends better. I'm better at work. I'm a better husband. I'm a way better dad because I'm not expressing pain and hurting my children the way I would have, for sure. If you have an issue, like let's say you're watching pornography every couple days or every day, and you're saying, I don't really want to do this, or I feel gross afterward, or it just seems like it's hurting my other relationships because I can't commit to anything long term, I would say, what else have you tried? This I know actually works. So if you've tried just turning off your phone, or if you've tried saying I'm not going to do it again, or if you've tried telling one other person from your church, or if maybe you don't go to church and you've just said, well, I just give up because everybody else is doing it. If you're tired of this stuff owning you and you want to have actual freedom, you come through the 423 program, which points people towards Jesus and points people towards healthy self-awareness, this works. So for the church, what I would say is if they're entertaining the concept of having a 423 group start, or if they've heard of it, or if they're being asked, my question would be, why in the world would you not? 423 has a great background where we're going to maintain the group ourselves. We take good care of facility. We manage the group ourselves in the sense of like the pastor or the assistant pastor or something is not going to have responsibility over this. Really, the leaders in the group take leadership, and that's how we've been trained through 423 and from Dave Scriven at the beginning. All the statistics show that in the congregation, the men especially, and now we're learning more that the women also are dealing with this. They're watching pornography, they're having inappropriate relationships, they are acting in a lustful way, which we know is happening. But we as a church are hoping if we don't talk about it, it will go away. And so we don't tell our teenagers, and then we don't tell our young adults, and then we don't tell our middle-aged married people who have 2 kids who kept them up all night, and the husband's stressed out, and his boss is mad, and he goes to work, and the only relief he has is when he goes into the bathroom and watches pornography for 15 minutes. And he feels a little bit better because he gets some adrenaline. That's really what's happening. Why as a church wouldn't we engage and say, we have a healthy way to go about this? Let's find the sin and let's bring it into the light where then Jesus can heal us and where then we can build relationships together. We're created in God's image, we as people. So why wouldn't we do this together, which brings us closer to God and helps us become healthy?